Wesley Lynn Ruiz spent nearly 50 years on death row, his life slipping away in a Texas prison. It all came down to a wild, heart-pounding moment after a high-speed chase screeched to a stop. In a flash of panic, Ruiz fired one desperate shot. The bullet ricocheted off a police officer's badge and sliced into his neck, killing Officer Mark Nix instantly. But to understand how Ruiz ended up in that fateful moment, we have to go back to the rough start that set his life on a collision course. Born on November 20th, 1979, in Dallas County, Texas, Wesley Lynn Ruiz came into a world that seemed to have it out for him. Growing up as a Mexican-American kid in a tough neighborhood, life was never easy. His parents abandoned him at a young age, leaving him to face a world without love or stability. Sometimes homeless, he bounced between unstable homes where food and safety were never guaranteed. Poverty was a constant shadow, making every day a fight to survive. Ruiz's childhood was marked by unimaginable abuse, physical beatings, cruel mind games, and sexual molestation. These weren't isolated events, but recurring horrors that left deep, invisible scars. Doctors later discovered that Ruiz suffered from fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, likely caused by his mother drinking during pregnancy. This condition damaged his brain, affecting his impulse control and ability to think clearly under pressure. He was also diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, complex trauma, and brain damage, all of which shaped his mind to react on instinct rather than reason. School might have been an escape, but it wasn't. Ruiz made it to 11th grade before dropping out. With no family support and constant instability, school felt meaningless. Though teachers may have seen potential in him, the chaos of his world snuffed it out. By his early teens, Ruiz began getting into minor trouble with the law. Nothing major, but the poverty and neglect around him slowly pushed him closer to risky choices as he searched for belonging. As a teenager in Dallas, Ruiz's life became a constant struggle with the local police. Being Hispanic made him a target. Officers from the gang unit would pull him out of his car, rough him up, and leave him bruised for no reason. These weren't random stops. They reflected deep racial bias, where young Latino men like Ruiz were treated as criminals just for existing in their own neighborhood. Friends recalled how worn out he was by it all, saying, "Wes was tired of being treated like a suspect every day." The repeated harassment built up a thick wall of distrust toward law enforcement, turning his PTSD into a hair-trigger fear that saw every officer as a threat. The survival instincts born from a neglected childhood evolved into paranoia, where authority became the enemy. Despite the tension with police, Ruiz showed glimpses of hope. In his early 20s, he found steady work as a truck driver, trying to build a normal life. But the foundation beneath him was too unstable. The trauma, poverty, and constant sense of danger followed him everywhere. His damaged brain and history of abuse made it hard for him to stay calm under stress, and the endless feeling of being hunted by police only deepened his paranoia. These forces didn't control every choice he made. Many people overcome similar pain, but they stacked the odds against him, setting him up for a dangerous breaking point. In early 2007, Dallas police were on edge after a murder case linked to a 1996 red and gray Chevrolet Caprice. On March 23rd, officers spotted the car and began a quiet pursuit that soon spiraled into chaos. Senior Corporal Mark Nix, a 33-year-old officer, joined the chase. The Caprice sped wildly through the streets of West Dallas, swerving through traffic until it lost control and crashed near a chain-link fence. Nix stopped nose-to-nose with the car, jumped out, and rushed to the passenger window. Baton in one hand and pistol in the other, he began smashing the tinted glass. He set his gun down to use both hands, shattering part of the window. In that split second, a single gunshot exploded from inside the car. The bullet hit Nix's badge, shattered, and pierced his neck. He stumbled back, bleeding heavily, and collapsed as fellow officers dragged him to safety. Despite their desperate attempts to save him, Nix was pronounced dead at the hospital. In the chaos that followed, police opened fire on Ruiz's car. Inside, Ruiz sat slumped over the wheel, hit by bullets, unconscious, with the smoking gun still in his lap. He was pulled from the wreckage and rushed to the hospital under heavy guard. The dashcam footage and the weapon became the heart of the case against him. The trial took place in the 194th Judicial District Court of Dallas County in 2008, under case number F07-50318. Prosecutors presented dashcam videos showing the chase, the crash, Nix breaking the window, and Ruiz firing before any officer shot back. They argued this proved the shooting was not self-defense. Ruiz testified that he fired out of fear, claiming Nix yelled threats to kill him and that police shot first. But no audio or witness supported his claim. Officers testified that Nix never made such threats and was focused on stopping a fleeing suspect. The defense tried to show that Nix had a history of aggression, citing 3 past incidents of alleged excessive force between 2002 and 2006. But the judge ruled that evidence irrelevant. More damagingly, Ruiz's attorneys barely mentioned his traumatic upbringing, his brain damage, or his mental health conditions, facts that might have helped explain his panic and poor judgment. Appeals later called this a serious failure in his defense, possibly influenced by bias against their Hispanic client. In July 2008, the jury found Ruiz guilty of capital murder and sentenced him to death. They decided he posed a continuing threat to society and that his background didn't justify sparing his life. The sentencing phase was tense. The courtroom was filled with dozens of uniformed police officers, creating an intimidating atmosphere. One juror later revealed she initially wanted life without parole but changed her vote to death because she didn't realize that a single no could have stopped the execution sentence. An expert witness also misinformed the jury by saying Ruiz could move to a lower security prison after 10 years, which was false under a 2005 rule change. After sentencing, Ruiz was transferred to the Allen B. Polunsky Unit, Texas's notorious death row facility. There, he spent nearly 15 years confined to a 60-square-foot cell, isolated for 23 hours a day. He had no job, no physical contact, and little human interaction. Meals came through a slot, and visits were behind thick glass. Ruiz filled his days reading, writing letters, and reflecting on his life. His clemency petition showed signs of remorse. He expressed deep regret for killing Officer Nix and tried to guide his 2 sons, Wes Jr. and Eric, urging them not to repeat his mistakes. He kept a calm record in prison, showing no signs of violence or defiance. Over the years, his lawyers fought tirelessly through appeals, arguing that racial bias and ineffective defense tainted his trial, that the courtroom was too charged with police presence, and even that Texas planned to use expired drugs for his execution. They took the fight to state and federal courts, and finally to the U.S. Supreme Court, but every attempt failed. The jury foreman later supported clemency, admitting he regretted the verdict and believed bias had influenced the decision. Still, the justice system remained unmoved. On February 1, 2023, Wesley Ruiz woke up in the Huntsville Unit's Death Watch cell. It was his final day. He saw family and loved ones for the last time through glass, comforted by a spiritual advisor. Texas had long ended the tradition of last meals, so he ate a regular prison dinner. When the time came, guards escorted him into the chamber, strapped him to the gurney, and inserted the 4 lines. Looking calm, he spoke his last words, "Don't worry about me. I'm ready to fly. All right, Warden, I'm ready to ride." The lethal injection of pentobarbital began to flow. Ruiz took 2 quick breaths, let out 11 soft snores, and then went still. At 6:41 p.m., doctors pronounced him dead. Wesley Lynn Ruiz's story ended in the silence of that execution chamber, a life filled with pain, both caused and endured. From a broken childhood to a fatal decision and a long wait for judgment, his journey raised haunting questions. Did the death penalty deliver true justice? Or did it expose a system that failed to see the boy behind the man, the trauma, the fear, and the bias that shaped his final act?